the Heather Penny Podcast Show. We are so excited to have you today. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am, what I do. I'm a leadership coach and trusted advisor. I get to work with amazing people all over the world, and I get to learn from them. And we get to learn from one another, honestly, as we move into more clarity, more confidence, and more courage. We're going to be spending time talking with people who are facing challenges that are probably very similar to what all of us face. I believe we're all going to start recognizing ourselves in these people who are sharing. So I'm eager to have you join our conversation. And my hope is that you'll have something that you take away from this that will give you more clarity, more confidence, and more courage to go live the life that I know you are only made to live. So let's jump in. Hi, Sami. It's so good to have you on my show today.
Hey there, Heather. Great to see you.
You too. And for those of us listening, this is Sami, and you may not get to see her, but if you want to see her, you get to go to my YouTube channel. But for those of you listening, this is Sami, and she's someone we've worked with together for, oh, good grief, Sami. How long have we worked together?
I feel like it might be 9 years, 8 or 9 years.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's been our whole time in Saudi, and then in Egypt. We started when we were in Egypt. So it's been a long while.
Yes. So you probably know my content probably almost better than me.
We're big fans, Heather. We're big fans.
Well, you've been along with me at the journey of writing my book, but I think as I've written this chapter book, it really was preceded by a picture book. Mm-hmm. And that's where I kind of got a little bit of my heartbeat out in the world saying, it feels like our world is working too hard, too fast. It came out of my research for young girls and women that were dealing with so much anxiety. And as I was reading all the research and the literature with my doctorate program, it just kept ending with more research is needed, more research is needed. Many researchers were calling it a social epidemic because it was just becoming so prolific where our girls and our women were dealing with anxiety. So I just decided, I think I want to be a part of the conversation that doesn't keep talking about our anxiety, but starts talking about how do we help our girls and our women pull out of anxiety and move into a life of not spiraling down, but actually spiraling up. What happened over the course of my 10 years in practice now is we found out it wasn't a message just for girls, was it?
No.
Really a message for all humanity. So that's the allegory that introduces my chapter book. And it's based off this picture book, the bracelet that I published over 10 years ago. So I guess I want to just start there, Sami, because I think that's where we got to meet, where you read the bracelet. And maybe you can give the listeners a little bit idea of what is the bracelet about?
Well, I love this book for one. So with a couple different hats on, I'm a children's librarian at an elementary school. So I have that hat, always looking for deep, beautiful books of content for our kids that have a meaningful message for them. And I'm a big fan of authors that go there with children. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of times we miss that in the world. And so the bracelet's one of those books that does that, where it addresses real things that kids are facing. And you do it very beautifully. And I think that it's a book that it reaches kiddos and, but all the way on up into adults. So the next hat would be just for myself as a person and recognizing myself in that character so many times in different ways. Mm-hmm. And then kind of the final way I recognize it and appreciate it so much was being a mama of my own daughter and seeing her struggling and facing the challenges of this world and asking questions about her own bracelets. Mm-hmm. And, I have the joy of mothering a highly sensitive and deep girl. And she's always been like that. And kind of the shadow side of that is that she carries a lot of the world on her shoulders. And so I think, a lot of coaching with you, but also we use the bracelet as a language in our family now, where we get to connect on that level with our daughter on how she's caring or managing relationships or people and how she's interacting with people, difficult people, what the world's asking of her and what the world isn't asking of her. Mm-hmm. And then the most important question, her maker and where she fits in this world and what her maker is asking of her. And so I think that I know I just covered a lot of span there, but I would just love to speak to that. It hits all those different levels and and we've connected with it deeply as a family. And then I've, of course, on a professional level, absolutely love it for the students that I interact with too.
Awesome. Yeah. And for those, I know a lot of you have read it. It's a very quick picture book. It's on Amazon. And I was trying to take probably my 200-page dissertation and all the complexities of it and try and get it super simple, because isn't that what truth really is?
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, it's years of research. And you're going, really? It's this simple, like positive thoughts can change your life, things like that. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'll give a quick synopsis for our readers who haven't read it. I do think it's on one of my podcasts called The Bracelet, and you can go back and hear me read the book to you, or of course, buy it. But it's about this little girl. And when she was little, she loved to run out and play and jump on her tire swing was her favorite thing to do, spend time under stars. Someone gave her the gift of a bracelet, and it was beautiful, and it made her feel so special and honored. But then what happened over the years, she got more and more bracelets that prevented her from going on her tire swings and her star and spending time under the stars. And so she wasn't able to enjoy her life because of these bracelets. So the very thing that became a gift became a hindrance. And then learning how to take off her bracelets and evaluate the bracelets. So it's this very complex idea put in a very simple story form that says, hey, folks, bracelets are neither good nor bad. We all have bracelets. As a mother, I've got kids, and I'm committed to these little guys and making sure that we move forward in life. But I still have to find time for my tire swing. And some things I have to take off to say, no, I can no longer commit to this because it's preventing me from doing what I love. So I wanted to just give our listeners a little bit of an idea of what that book was about. And of course, I want to hand it back to you, Sami, and go, what are some of the bracelets that you had to start identifying? Some that you might have had to take off permanently, or maybe some that you just have to kind of take off here and there, or you wear on a very intentional basis.
Oh gosh, Heather. I mean, first of all, I would like to say that just the message resonates with any person that takes just a moment to self-reflect. I think that every one of us at one point in our life looks in the mirror and goes like, how did I get here? And this isn't what I signed up for, or this isn't what I wanted, or what happened to that little girl or that little boy or that person that was playful and on the tire swing. And I think that every one of us at some point or another, we have that moment of clarity where you decide, I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to live a full and thriving life. And so I think that it takes that moment to recognize that, and then to start looking at your life with full authenticity and openness to recognize the places that we've given over to others and the burdens that we've taken upon ourselves. Sometimes it could be a job, it could be a belief system, it could be, 1,000 different things that are meant to be good, and they are by nature good, but maybe they're not what you need in that moment. And I think for me, probably one of the biggest ones that I've been healing from for much of my adult life has been the FOMO, right? So the fear of missing out. And we live overseas. We intentionally chose this path. We are avid travelers and adventure seekers, and which isn't bad, right? It's wonderful in a lot of ways. But then when you start digging down into motive and the motivation of what's driving those decisions and those life decisions, and I think that that's where I started recognizing this shadow side of that constant fear, this decision to put myself out there and to do all the things and to be all the places, and kind of prided myself and being like, oh, well, I'm a change junkie. Like, just give me the change. Yes. Like, bring it to me. Yeah. And the positive side of that is, it's great. Like, you can put me into probably just about any job. And I have changed my role many a times. But I think when it comes down to it, you start recognizing the motivation behind those different things. I think the other one that's been a big part of my journey has been releasing that need to do it myself, that mentality of like, well, I'm on my own. I'm going to do this my way, or, well, no one else has got this, so I've got this. And so that can,
those sound like false beliefs, Sami.
They do, but they can mask themselves as like, oh, well, she's strong, she's confident, she's going to do her thing, which is also beautiful and serving to life in many ways. But when it comes down to that motivation, that core, was it allowing me to get out under the stars? Like, most certainly it wasn't. And was it driving me to places of happiness and tire swings? No, actually it wasn't. And ironically, it kind of became a joke in my marriage, but like, we would be on these incredible vacations or these trips that we planned. And, you know, these trips of a lifetime that many people don't even go on it once in their lifetime. And I would quite literally be planning the next trip while I was, you know, on the Amalfi Coast in Italy and doing the thing. I'd be like, okay, well, I'm done with, like, dust my hands of that and move on. And you realize that that's actually not rest. It's not restorative. It's not slowing your pace enough to hear the whisper of the wind saying, hey, this is actually who you are. And so those are some of the things that I struggle with quite a lot. Probably less now. I think life and grief and struggles and that have come my way have calmed those. And then global pandemic really puts a halt on wanderlust. But I do recognize in myself the ability to hear it now, though. I can feel it when I'm going into striving mode.
I love it. You mentioned earlier, I love this phrase. I quickly jotted it down, but you said moment of clarity. I want to ask you, what was that moment of clarity?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, one of probably the wisest things we've ever done was to seek out a third party to step into our lives in a deep way. And that happened to be you. And we were living in Egypt, and it was in the middle of the Arab Spring, and the country was literally in revolution, and there were bombs going off in the street, and we were walking around like it was a super normal experience. And we were going hard after life. And then at the end of it, it was that ache for more, where it was like, ooh, but is this what I really want to be? Is our marriage what we really want it to be? Am I mothering my daughter in the way that I really want to? And I think thankfully it didn't come from a place of condemnation. Really, it just came from a place of like, oh my gosh, I need a mama. I need somebody to step in and be a mirror to reflect back. And I just remember knowing that you were doing coaching of some form and sent you a message, and we were like, help, like SOS, like sending an SOS. We're over here and we need something. We don't know what it is. So I think that was a big moment of clarity for me, just even stepping into the process. Gosh, I would say there's been a ton of moments where in the last couple of years, both my parents had cancer and passed away. So in a very short period of time, and being thrown into the grief journey rather unexpectedly and younger than we imagined, and knowing what it was and wanting so badly to do it well, whatever that means, and wanting so badly for it to not break me or break my daughter or our family, wanting desperately to not detach from what was going on in life. And then ultimately, I think the hope is always that our pain can be something that can be useful for others and in healing for others. And I think that when you go through your own grief or your own struggle, whatever it is, if we approach it from a very narrow angle, actually, you can walk through it and come out actually on the other side, a better version of yourself. And I think that the moment of clarity was recognizing that I was not going to be able to get to that place on my own. That I was barely standing on my own 2 feet, navigating what grief and loss looked like for myself and for my family. And just to expect any person to do that without someone in their corner, it's almost an unkindness. So I think those clarity moments are inviting other people into your story, inviting them into your life, the journey that you're on, and And that bit of reflection being the very thing that guides you to take something that could be very tragic and heartbreaking and scarring, and you get to twist it and pivot just so, and let it be something that's actually healing for yourself and for the world. I hope. I don't know yet I don't know where the story's going, but
yes, you've been through some hard chapters in your story. Where would you say you are now?
I feel like I'm coming up for air and dreaming again. I think that's where, and I think my soul is poking up and going like, is this allowed? Am I allowed to come up into the space and to move out of that, where I think that, I think grief is a complex journey for every person. My partner and my husband and my best friend has struggled through years of anxiety struggles. And that's been a long, beautiful and hard journey for us. And so I think walking that journey and being able to come up for air in that as well. And I really feel like the sweet space for me is just that recognition is that I'm not the answer for it all. I'm not the hero of the story, anyone's story, including my own. And I love Bob Goff when he says, if faith is important to you, then, like, I love that expression, but just saying that, like, if faith is important to you, then leaning into that space where I get to go, like, I'm not the life source here. And I don't need to have all the answers. And so for someone who was an utter control freak, navigating all of the joys of life in one happy package, that actually is the greatest relief ever, to recognize, like, it's not on me. It's not just me. I'm not the one standing here holding it all. I'm not the source of my partner's happiness or my daughter's happiness or the answer to my many students' parents and what they need. It's not me. And getting to release that and step into that. So I think that's the sweet journey to get back to the tire swing, to get back out under the stars and, shedding off those bracelets, if you will.
Yes. So. I love that. I would think one of the things that I wrote in the book, and honestly, I'll be honest, I didn't even realize it when I first wrote it, but how wisdom kind of speaks over the ages. So here we are, probably over 10 years later. When I use the tire swing and stars now, I use them as a connection to restorative rest, which is all about my first 6 chapters, right? In my chapter book on clarity. Everyone wants more clarity. It's just they want the magic pill or the magic wand, right? To just quickly give it. And I have to say, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to kind of pull over your speeding car and pull out a map and kind of start getting some clarity. And one of the ways I really help people pull over is the tire swing, which I call an active rest, and star time, which is contemplative rest. And I think when I first wrote the book, I didn't see it that clearly. But when clients and people started getting on the phone with me, they're like, Heath, I got to find my tire swing. Heath, I got to get my stars. I was like, oh, there's 2 forms of rest there. So we all kind of learn together. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Can you give our listeners a little bit of idea of what would be active rest for you, your tire swing? What would be contemplative rest for you, your star time?
Yeah. I'm a big believer that nature in any form is super healing. And so honestly, getting out in nature, whatever it is, I'm not going to lie, it's a challenge for us here. We live on a compound in the middle of Saudi Arabia. So it's taken some serious creativity to make it happen. And for me, I love the long walks. When I can orchestrate life and being, in our cabin in Colorado or in Hawaii on the beach or wherever, like those are the places, but those are kind of like, those are annuals. And so I realized that I was making my tire swings kind of unkindly try and stretch out for like a year at a time, which they can be very refreshing, but it's, I think that the need of life draws us back into trying to get into those, you've taught us those, daily, weeklies, monthlies, annuals, where it's tire swings are a big part of that. So daily we do a lot of walking. We have some beautiful desert here. We got some great beaches that we get out to. One of my favorite things to do is to literally find trees and like lay a hand on a tree. That sounds very naturey, but there's a tree on our path that almost looks like an aspen tree. And if I like look at it right at the right angle, Joe totally laughs at me. But I visit that tree a lot and it's weirdly super healing. So so tire swings, we love getting out in nature, hiking, beaches, playing, getting out into the active rest, actually even going for a drive sometimes, like where we just get some space to talk through things, and which helpfully is a great combination here because we do have to drive a couple hours to get to the beach. So it partners well. Oh man, star time is actually easier for me than active rest, especially here in this context where I love to journal. I love drawing and watercolor and sketching and spending time in those places. So that's a daily for me where getting words out on paper and taking those moments to reflect on the life around me. And I feel like when I'm not in that place, it's really easy to shift very quickly back into that girl who wants to serve the FOMO rather than the beautiful present place that I'm living in. And so I think that journaling and being in a quiet place with coffee and a good book and really enjoying a lot of the contemplative writers and listening and hearing from people who've walked the journey before us and not necessarily doing it well per se, but just people who've walked it with their hearts wide open and saying, I want to live the most authentic life that is before me. And that's the journey I want to take.
That's beautiful. I had a little minor epiphany here, Sami. So thank you for coaching me as well. But as you were talking, I thought, oh, that's my book. It's Star Time. Right. And I think you and I both love our star time and we love our tire swing time. But I think the book is really this methodical time of, hey, come spend some time under the stars and think through clarity. Come spend some time under the stars and think through confidence and what it means to you. Now come spend some time under the stars so that you can start building that reservoir of courage to take risks. So it's been very impactful to me as a person and as a coach, but also all the other hats I wear of wife and mother and everything else. And so it's fun to see you kind of take it on. And I'm curious, you mentioned this earlier. How is this language impacted your family?
Oh man, we have an 11-year-old. And as I mentioned, she is a deeply sensitive, artistic girl. She will literally sit down at the piano and play some soul music to I quote, fill her spirit up. So she's very much her father's daughter, which is wonderful. And I think that we've realized for our family life that we need to slow our pace and slow our rhythm. And that means building in time for that. And so we very intentionally taken, the first day of every weekend as family time and big breakfast and talk over whether it's a devotional or just taking time to give her that space. And so we use the language with her, the clarity, confidence, courage. She articulates what she's thinking through that. And we've been reading the bracelet to her since she was a little girl as well. And a lot of times, coming home from school after having some distressing experience where the world was asking more of her than she could give, it got to be a very gentle conversation of well, what do you need right now? Do you, what, and articulating what she needs. So giving her permission to take time away from her peers or time away from activities and to have that. And it's incredible to watch. I know that a lot of it's just who she is as a person, but she'll come home and oh, I just really need some rest right now. And she'll go and do art or play piano or do something. Quite literally will be like, well, oh, that was great, guys. I'm ready to go back into the day. And I'm like, wow, like, who are you? This is amazing. So I think like we use the language just in our own marriage language a lot, communicating with one another. But, obviously like our daughters in the mix in the household, hearing how we speak and interact with one another. And we've been able to translate that language over into parenting her and her navigating that beautiful, sensitive spirit and what she needs. And, giving her the language that her sensitivity is the gift to the world. I think the negative side of that she hears all day long, loud and clear, is that you're too much, you feel too much, everything you're feeling is too much. And we have to be careful to not be that voice as well. So using the language with her that, oh, that's just your beautiful spirit telling you need some time alone, or that you need to reconnect with your maker, or you need to have some time with mom and dad who can just affirm you and who you are. And so man, we love it. It's such a gift in our life for our own kiddo.
Yeah.
And just set the precedent for understanding and validating where she's at and what she's going through, and doing our darndest to not dismiss it,
It's so powerful. She's been my little test subject. She doesn't know this, but I was like, if I really want to, you and I are both educators, so we've talked about this, but if we really want to go after the child with the broken spirit, much less the adult, basically all humanity, there's conversations about how to address the broken spirit, but there's very little conversation on how to cultivate the spirit of who you are already in you. So, and the reason I keep using the word spirit is because the book ends with, hey, if you take off your bracelets and you spend time under the stars and you jump on your tire swing, you're going to go find yourself again. You're going to try find your true self. And by the way, this is your spirit, the spirit of who you are, and it's nothing mystical or weird, like creepy spirit, I think like that. It's really about this idea of, what do you call your true sense of self? And so in the book, I just called it your spirit, because we have so little language around your true sense of self. And so what I love watching you parent, and one of my favorite photographs that still stick in my head, you sent it to me, of her sitting there lying on her bed reading the book. And I think she was 5 years old. Yeah. And my hope was exactly what I saw with little Leilani of 5 years old, understanding what I think is innate in us. And I always joke, and I think it's in my book too, of like, you don't have to tell third graders, hey, take off your bracelets, go find your tire swings. I joke, if you get in between a third grader and the door when the bell rings for recess, like stampede, get out of the way, man. They know instinctively what their tire swing is. I think what breaks my heart as a parent and as an educator is when I start observing these children lose their spirit of who they are in their tire swings, because they're being told, you shouldn't like that. You shouldn't relax. You shouldn't really enjoy that. In fact, there's something really wrong with you, that you're too sensitive and that you're too much and that you're connecting with too much and you're starting to create anxiety. So let's make sure that we tell you that the anxiety is your issue, when in reality, it's their sensitive spirit that is trying to signal that something's not working. And so can we do life differently? And unfortunately, our kids take our cues from the adults. So the adults keep telling them, your spirit's kind of broken. So get it together and keep up with the rest of the world, versus, wow, something's really affecting you. And so what I'm so excited about, honestly, it's like my dream come true. I almost feel like my work here is done, Sami. I can die peacefully, because I feel like we're creating this next generation. As I look at Leilani and I go, we're giving her the language, Sami. We're giving her the language that you and I didn't have, right?
Oh, no way. So many kids, the world. I mean, I would just have to say, like, the world is hungry for it. And just in the publishing world, even just people again and again, time and again, advocating to treat children as the small humans that they are, and that they're needing and so desperate and hungry for a language for the things that they're going through. And I feel like it, I mean, I don't think that the world is naive in this, but I just feel like that, assuming that all kids want are these fluffy, silly books, which I love as well. but I think that the world is hungry for authors such as yourself and like Matt De La Pena and Tommy DePaulo and Kate DiCamillo and all these people that are saying like, whoa, wait, no, we actually want to talk to the small humans about what they're feeling, why they're feeling that way. And then you throw in any of life's complexities and these kids trying to navigate what that means. And I absolutely adore the bracelet for that reason, because it gives kids language. And, you know, everything from my 5-year-old reading it and getting it to now she's a tween, but even up into teenagers. And I spend many a day affirming and validating our adolescent kids and saying like, it's all right to be who you are, normalizing it. You get to be you. And I think that there's such a space for that message in the world. And, you know, we've of course have your book on our shelf in our library, and I think everybody should, but ultimately even just, you know, ricocheting back to that point, just as an adult, recognizing that in ourselves. And it takes such bravery and courage to look in ourselves and to just hear that whisper of what I'm doing isn't working anymore. And to know that it's not working, but to take that step forward to actually make a change, and to know that the too good to be true, it can be true for us. Actually, you can live that dream. You can step into it, and not in some like, you know, psychedelical, super spiritual, unattainable way. That's not it at all. But you can lay your head on your pillow at night and love who you are and love what you did and feel that your work was meaningful. And I think that a lot of us are afraid to look at that and to look into the reasons why we aren't feeling that way. And so that's why I love the work that you're doing in the world, and honored to be a part of it. And obviously my life has been deeply impacted and benefited by your mentorship and coaching through many hard years, wonderful but hard years.
That'll be another podcast, Sammy. We got to go there.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, it's been so fun to have you today. Let's leave the listeners with this one question. What helps you hang on to your true self?
Man, I feel like it's not rocket science. I think that it's I know when I'm wavering off that path, if you will, when I'm missing out on the basics of my life. I'm staying up too late, or engaging in too much media, or listening to voices that aren't the helpful voices, and remaining in relationships or conversations that aren't life-giving. And I think learning how to balance that and to prioritize that in my life has been, you know, the greatest gift, because it all spirals out. If you stay up too late, then it's really hard to get up early, and then you running out the door yelling at your kids and running into work flustered, and it just spirals out so quickly. And so I would just say realistically creating that time to engage in those places. And you have to you know, kind of like people hate being like, oh, scheduling date night or whatever, it doesn't feel authentic or whatever. But it's like, no, like the way our lives are and the way the world is demanding time and energy and everything out of us, you have to plan it. You have to schedule it in. So when I'm my best self, my best version of myself, I'm intentional about creating that time and that place and the space to get out under the stars, to engage in that restorative rest. And when I don't, it's not fun for my family or my daughter or life. It's not a pretty version of me.
They start asking us, when's the last time you got your tire swing, Mom?
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It's almost like I rue the day I taught them some of this language, because they hold me accountable.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I love that thought, because yes. I love that, because it's what a great way to keep it simple, Sammy. It's less about getting it right and perfect and more about just staying mindful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got tire swings. Oh yeah, I've got stars. Oh yeah, I've got bracelets. Oops, maybe I have too many.
And being gentle with yourself and being okay to pivot with that. Like if your walk suddenly starts turning into like your exercise routine and it's not restful and you're, out there jamming it out because you feel some form of obligation, then gently rethink it and think through how you want to slow down and lay your hand on a tree that maybe looks like something you wish it was. But I think just being gentle with yourself and being okay with it being maybe in the world's perception like an unused time that's not work. It's not. It shouldn't be that. And you'll know the difference. We all know.
Yeah, we all know. Yeah, it's really just about recovering from what we had in childhood, isn't it?
Oh, for real. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us, Sami. It's always so fun talking with you. And we solve the world's problems together. I'm quite confident of that.
Well, thank you, Heather. And thank you for writing your beautiful books. They've been a gift to us. And we bought a stack pre-ordered. So we're pumped up to hand them out. Everybody's getting it for Christmas. So here you go.
Thanks, Sami.
You're welcome, Heather.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So I'm really excited to let my listeners know that I've written a book. And this book is about 3C living. And what that means is clarity, confidence, and courage. Don't we all want a little bit more of that? This book is really a labor of love where I've collected so many amazing stories from around the world. All of us have a story to tell and all of us can learn from one another. I wanted to share these with the hope that it will serve you in your life as you move into more clarity and more confidence and more courage. So my book is available now for pre-order. You can go to my website at heatherpenny.com. And I think what's kind of exciting about it, these next several weeks, that if you go ahead and do a pre-order now, we've got some great gifts that we want to give. And we've chosen these gifts from places that are ethically sourcing things in our world. So we are excited to give some of these gifts away, and we're excited to be supporting organizations and groups that are trying to move humanity forward. And we want to just honor those of you who are eager and jumping in to sign up now. So you can go to my website, heatherpenny.com. And on there, you can do the pre-sale. You can also sign up for our email list where I give lots of free coaching away and try and make sure that I don't flood your email boxes too much, but I give you something that is a good takeaway for the week. Thank you so much for your support and for listening today. I hope you've gained some insight, some new wisdom, or even just got affirmed on what you already know to be true so that you can move into more clarity, more confidence, and more courage in your own life. Take care, everyone.